Cheers, guys. Epix 911, welcome to the Sunday, January 15th, 2017 edition of VR News. Some really interesting topics to talk about, a few technical ones, including this first one. This is a link from longtime viewer Jefferson in yesterday's January 14th news video. And in the link, which is a digital Foundry video, if you're at all a techie person, it's a fantastic website. I missed this piece though, so thanks Jefferson for linking it. But what it does, it basically answers a bunch of questions I get asked pretty much on a daily. And those questions are generally, which CPU should I use, which video card, does SLI benefit, etc. Okay. Now, for me, when I did the upgrade from my i5 Sandy Bridge to the Skylake i5, there wasn't a huge difference with a lot of games. Now, granted, part of that is the resolution I was running at, the fact that I'm really not taxing the system, plus that I have a 1080. So all those factored in to not make a huge difference on most benchmarks. Fast forward to the i7, things change quite a bit, drastically, as you can see from the link that he supplied. For example, having either a Kabylake or Skylake with a Titan X, for example, which totally would be if you've got the deep pockets and you're that into getting every percentage point of performance you can get. You go for that. You go for the Titan X, the newest version of it, with the Kabylake or Skylake i7 if you happen to have it already, and they even get into that in the video. And you are going to get 30 to 40% performance increase over an i5 like mine, the Skylake, for so many games. Now, granted, again, it depends on your video card and a lot of other factors, but they cover a lot of that in the video, how much memory can benefit, etc. i7 is probably something I'm going to work towards upgrading to kind of keep this beast going. I'll probably do that before I replace the 1080 with something new down the road. Hopefully this year I get the i7, but have a look, guys, if that is at all of any interest, and especially those of you who have those types of questions, check it out. Some really good benchmarks. Next news piece, excuse the pun, but it's the yin and yang of a place like China. In a lot of ways, China, at least the economic boom, mirrors the United States of the 1920s. Not in terms of liberties or freedom or those types of things, but in terms of just the economic side, right? And you've got that. That's a positive thing. Great. Virtual reality is everywhere. It's getting a push in China. But then you got to look at the other side of the coin. Something like this announcement from a government website about augmented reality games, specifically Pokemon Go, but really the announcement blanketed all of augmented, and it read as follows. Judging from overseas consumption patterns and a number of cases, there are major social risks linked to the operation of this game. These include breaches of security relating to geographical information, traffic safety, and threats to consumer safety. In view of these national security considerations, as well as a sense of responsibility for the safety of people and property, the administration will not be approving this type of game for the time being. Don't you love when somebody else decides stuff for you? And I know a lot of my Australian viewers were probably just as pissed off and irritated when Australia had its time of, being in denial or not even considering that adults played video games. There was no adult rating. End result, the game couldn't be found. It was nowhere to be found. You could not buy it because it was deemed too violent or too whatever, and the rating system didn't allow for that. That's changed. But then you look at a place like China. Like I said, on the one hand, it's fantastic what they're doing for VR, and then this is the other side of the equation. So, link below if you want to read a little bit more on that. I'm going to move on to less depressing stuff. For any Chinese viewers, that sucks. Next news piece, Sansar, which is the application from Linden Lab, is going to open to everybody in the first half of 2017. This according to the devs. and it's with a new approach to virtual worlds. Now, one of the things that they have been stressing, Linden Lab, since the beginning of all of this, of Sansar's development, is, look, this is not going to be the Second Life. Totally different. Not so much a world as a platform. And what they are wanting and hoping is for content creation. So devs to create worlds and venues based on economic models. Maybe it's ticket prices or cover charge at the door. Whatever it happens to be, they, of course, would take a cut of that monetary pie, Linden Lab would, and everybody's happy. That's kind of the utopia of online commerce and experience in VR that Linden Lab is looking to create. So right now already, and the Road to VR writer of this article talked about it, you can see some interesting stuff. There's an Egyptian world with hieroglyphs and all that sort of thing, and then contrast that to another setting, which he said was literally a cross between Ocarina of Time, Zelda fame of course, and Lord of the Rings. So in terms of an aesthetic, that was the look. So very fantasy-like. I haven't been somebody for social gaming, not meaning like I'm against it, just meaning it's not something I've participated in, haven't tried. Never logged into Second Life, not even once. But this is interesting from the point of view that, look, if they can nail down the locomotion between these experiences and the experiences themselves, it may be fun to explore. So I don't know how they're going to work that, if they're going to charge for it, pay to play, freemium, whatever they end up going with. But definitely going to keep my eye on it, maybe check it out. Now, if you've been wondering what George R.R. Martin has been up to when he's not writing, which is pretty much all the time apparently because the books aren't coming, George. They are delayed constantly. Well, if you follow his blog at all, you'll see that he loves jet setting. That guy travels more than anybody I know. He's all over the place. He loves showing up for, book events and stuff, and not just signings. He doesn't have a lot of time to write. George is a busy man. But this idea that he had was to support an art collective / production company called Meow Wolf. Now, he liked these guys so much and what they do that he purchased and leased property in New Mexico for them for 10 years and upgraded, completely renovated for $2.5 million the facility. What it is exactly they do, they don't really explain. If there's anybody out there that does know, let me know in the comments. I couldn't figure it out after researching about 4 different websites, but they want to get into virtual reality next. Specifically, they want to find PC-based solutions with haptic feedback while also embracing mobile-based content and filling in space in their physical location. So, like I said, they're a little vague on what they want to do, but in general terms, they want to be inclusive. Well, all right, fair enough. What does that mean for VR? Don't have a clue. Hopefully they do, and they're not, being vague because they don't have a clue. I imagine they have some kind of master plan. What that is, like I say with so much of this VR stuff, we got to wait on the sidelines, and then we'll find out. All right, next news piece. Game industry job postings decreasing, but VR jobs postings are actually up 400% since 2014. Now, the decrease in game developer jobs is about 65% decrease since 2014. Yet, game developer job searches are up by 50%, and searches for augmented and virtual reality gaming jobs skyrocketed by 1,500%, while job postings for those, like I said at the outset, are up by 400%, and esports job growth is up 40% overall. Now, one reason the writer speculated that the decline took place is because of the growth of indie companies. Now, you take one look at Steam VR. We talked about it yesterday quite a bit in the comments section and in the news. That would seem to bear that out, right? There are so many indie development companies right now, and quality is literally all over the place. Now, the most jobs are available. There's actually a list for virtual reality and things. The top company, Electronic Arts, followed by Blizzard, Activision, Epic Games, 2K Games, Zynga, Bungie, Nexon America, Ubisoft, and at the bottom of the list, Nintendo America. So, pretty neat that those traditional companies are heading the statistics or, positioning themselves in the way that they are. EA at the top doesn't surprise me, but at the same time surprises me. This next statistic, and again, guys, you know my thoughts on statistics. If you've seen more of my videos, I take them with a grain of salt, and I shall do so here, but they've ranked the cities with the highest percentage of video game designer and developer jobs and listed the average salaries for those places. And pretty much in almost all cases, they scale together, meaning the location, San Francisco, Oakland, and Hayward, have an average salary of $134,796, but are also the highest percentage of video game designer and developer jobs. Now, that's not completely true. For example, Round Rock and Austin are out of place a little bit, as is Santa Clara. Have a look at those. They are in the link below, and you can see that for yourself. If you're interested, me, pretty happy in terms of what I'm doing. I think part of me, even though I would want to be working in the game industry, part of me is worried that if I wouldn't enjoy it as much as a hobby. Whereas now with brick and mortar type IT that I do, the two never cross paths. And as end result, still love my gaming. All right, next up, Ford, the car company, inside their VR labs. Now, they've built these tools, and in general, I get amazed how much car technology has changed. Coincidentally or not, since the bailout, it's been just crazy, exponentially crazy since then. But case in point, and I think I mentioned this before, but my 9-year-old car had auxiliary cable. So I would plug my Android or whatever in via the 3.5 millimeter, listen to music. Now, Bluetooth, navigation, backup camera, lane change camera, etc., etc. They are just technical marvels. Well, Ford is taking that even further. They're directly using virtual reality and have been for almost 2 years now to not just improve their prototyping, like the streamline and efficiency of their, shop floor line, how the cars get built, but worker safety is a huge thing and a huge focus for them. There's a picture I've probably got up. It shows a worker using a 3D printed model of a portion of the engine. Forgive my car ignorance. I don't know what that is. It looks like an engine block. Really, am I sure? No, I'm not. But anyways, it measures everything from the strain in the lower lumbar to neck and repetitive strain injuries, all of that through virtual reality. So they're able to do rapid prototyping, but they're also able to reduce worker injuries with this. And again, with the statistics, but they are citing the following: reduced employee injury by 70% using the latest ergonomic research, reduced overextended movement, difficult hand clearance, and hard to install parts at new vehicle launch by 90%. And I'll get back to that one real quick. Reduced employee days away from work due to injury by 75%. There was a family friend we had, a Dutch family, and this gentleman was literally a week away from retirement. Something he had been doing for 30 plus years on a conveyor line with a big saw that cuts lumber. And for a split second, he didn't do what he'd been doing for 30 plus years, got his hand cut off. And the horrible thing about that is, you know what his hobby was, what he wanted to spend his retirement doing? Woodworking. And anyone who does woodworking, like me with the arcade cab, you need these. So that is a good thing that Ford did there. 90% reduction. Absolutely cool. Hopefully some guys, as a result of that, retire injury-free. All right, next news story. Google's Johnny Lee excited to merge Tango and Daydream. Now, we've heard about both of these products individually, and every time they've talked about merging, we get the same discussion points. Overheating, overheating, overheating. Thermal considerations. Now, apparently, with a lot of R&D between then and now, they've gotten closer to being able to pull that off. And I like what Johnny says. He goes, as much as he likes the gaming side of things, there's all kinds of tools. For example, if you hate shopping, like I do, I'm an in and out guy. If I got something in mind, I'd research it ahead of time, go in, buy, out, gone. Not the wife. That's why we shop separate. But as far as this goes, there's an app from the Gap, for example, that Johnny illustrates, and you are able to put your exact portly or otherwise body type into this and immediately check shirts, ties, pants, shoes accurately. What would they look like on my portly frame? So very, very cool. Again, another innovative use of virtual reality. Very cool. Hopefully, according to Johnny, in 2017, they're going to have more announcements on how close they are with that. I mean, we've mentioned the phones, but taking it to that next level. Then the last news story, the trial that I talked about the last week is going to resume tomorrow. This, of course, is Zenimax versus Oculus, with Zuckerberg, CEO himself of Facebook, expected to take the stand on Tuesday. And co-founder Palmer Luckey expected later in the week. Now, remember, the key crucial point in this trial is whether Carmack violated his contract with Zenimax. This will be an interesting trial to follow, and follow it I will. All right, guys, Sunday night. Hopefully you guys had a really good weekend. Have an awesome week at work. We'll speak again tomorrow. Cheers as always, and definitely catch you guys on the VR flip side.